Yes.
My question is, as someone who is both a science teacher and a potential budding, hope to be soon parent, have your kids ever run into a situation in their school or in their community where it wasn't just a difference of opinion, where you had to kind of mediate a conflict in worldview, whether between your children and a teacher or your children and their cliques at school? Have you ever had to figure out, how am I going to deal with society when society is telling my kids that they're wrong and my kids are kids and feel really self-conscious?
On the day that the final video for the Foundational Falsehoods came out, that was on the topic of theory and what the word theory means. On that day, my son's science teacher told him that evolution was just a theory. He didn't know I was doing the video. He then argued that there were no such things as beneficial mutations, and he had a textbook required by the class as core curriculum listing beneficial mutations. He was ignoring the lesson plan to argue a lie that the book itself refutes, and all he had to do to know better was to open his own book. Okay? We're not talking about people with an interest in honest science. The facts don't matter. And on some occasions you will get people to admit this, and I've seen it happen time and again, where people will say, we all get emails of urban legends and whatnot, people talking about this and that and the other, and then eventually you get these emails where something is so wrong that you have to address it. A friend of mine did. She sent back all of the data. This is what actually happened. This is what all the actual facts were. It doesn't matter what the topic was, but she proved the point solidly and conclusively, and she did so politely because she's talking to a friend. She sends the email back. The friend responds vehemently angrily that these may be what the facts are, but I prefer to believe this. That's what you're up against. This statement, so often repeated, I'm going to believe what I want to believe. And someone recently said to me, I'd rather not say who since you're streaming, but somebody told me, I believe what I believe because that's what I believe. I believe that. And I'm not going to believe what you believe because that's not what I believe. How do you argue with logic like that? Anyone else?
Yeah, in our Western society, since the advent of agriculture,
he doesn't need a mic, he booms.
The Catholic Church's Inquisition and the Islamic indoctrination of their young kids and stuff, it's been such an influence over the last 5-6 centuries that it still has an influence on Western thinking. I mean, I run into people all the time, you don't believe in God, but you must be nuts. I mean, they brought Western civilization to its knees, and unfortunately the British stopped. But now I picked up Thomas Friedman's The World is Flat, and the advent of the computer, and everybody's online now. Is this going to maybe, hopefully, you believe that it's going to stop this bullshit? Spread the knowledge, or are people going to get the wrong knowledge out of this?
Right. There's 2 points to remember here. First of all, the data is immediately accessible. Okay, and as I described, I was on a learning curve. I was finding out everything. One of the things I found out is you can't trust everything you read, but you want that, don't you? You want to know that you can't trust everything. And you want to be able to have an immediate comparison to what everybody is asserting is absolute truth, especially when everybody's absolute truth is different. And is God, like somebody asked me the other day about why Christians become atheists, or I asked him, and he said that the reason that people become atheists is because Christians don't follow the 10 Commandments. They don't follow the Word of God. And I said, let me make sure I understand this. You're saying that people just believe that there is no God because they believe the Bible is the Word of God. Is that really what you're telling me? But when we're talking about like the 10 Commandments, okay, your perspective is that we have to follow these sets of rules, or else we're going to go to hell. Of course, this book doesn't say that. This one says that if you have any other gods before me, well, this is the commandment, have any other gods before me, you're going to hell. Then you have Jesus saying, the only way to get to God is through me. Is there not a contradiction there? A Jew or a Muslim would say there is. But the Christian perspectives say they're not. And of course, they're all wrong because Krishna is going to come back and turn us all into And then maybe we can just make up another religion where we can stress an absolute truth that's unfounded and unsubstantiated by anything.
Have you been touched by his nudity appendage?
That's a wonderful analogy. Yes, I think that the internet is going to be the bane of religion to a large degree. And not just because information is out there, but also because misinformation is out there, and because of that, you have to think critically.
The internet's not going to be taken over by a bunch of PCS?
Okay, well, thank you. This has been exciting.
We hope the TSA doesn't seize them.
I understand you had quite an adventure even getting here. Who would think that you'd be snowed in Texas?
I want to add something about that. When I made the video announcing that I was going to,
We can't hear you.
when I made the video announcing that I would be participating in this, I wanted to create a segue so that I could show Florida, in its best light. Of course, that's summer. Contrasting to the winter that I was experiencing in Dallas. Of course, I got 100 responses from people in Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Canada, and Russia, all telling me what a wuss I am. So I would have been justified if my plane had been snowed in both Dallas and Georgia. And I almost was. They told many other people that you're going to be spending the night in Georgia, and you'll be leaving tomorrow sometime.
Well, we're glad you made it, and I hope you do feel a little bit of the South Florida warmth.
I'm going to after this is over, yes.
Okay. But right now we have our reception going on, and again, I invite you all to join us. It's just, again, at the other end of this building. There'll be people there to take your donation, which I know you will realize helps show your appreciation for the program that we put on today.